Evening, all right. Yeah, more dropshipping. We're not going to talk about dropshipping today. We're going to talk about 1.8. And I guess by the time this video is out, there might be a bit more information about it. But I guess the challenge that I certainly have with it is that it doesn't feel that there is much kind of happening in Dust at the moment. And I made a kind of trolly post on imagine me trolling, imagine. I made a bit of a trolly Twitter post. Twitter's a funny thing, isn't it? That you can type something like oh yeah, and the guy wore green, and that's it. And when you read that, you could read it as, oh, the guy wore green. Or you could hear it as, oh, and the guy wore green. Do you know what I mean? It's two different ways of reading stuff. I find the tweet before and beyond and after can actually influence the tweet in between. What the hell am I talking about? I'm talking about Twitter. Who gives a crap about Twitter? But it's funny because every time I do some posting, it's always kind of interesting because people think I'm being negative about the game. Or if I am being negative about the game, then it's actually when I'm not. So funny thing, I wrote an article that kind of, or a post rather, that said the problem I have with CCP at the moment is it does feel a little bit asleep at the wheel, but that's not I mean, again, I guess that is kind of rude, but hey, it was more just to do with the fact that it doesn't feel like they're actually maybe being empowered to do a lot. They've obviously got a team there. There's a lot of good talent there, and I think they're really trying to produce a great game. But what I find difficult to believe and stomach, if you like, is that they're getting support to continue this game that's needed. Do you know what I mean? It's like, what would push Dust forward? Would another developer help? Probably not. Would more resource in China help? Probably not. What would help would maybe be a bit more of a focus on the game. Maybe, I mean, this is why I kind of did a thing on the marketing piece of this, because it doesn't necessarily feel that the marketing is really behind this game. And the marketing department of any company are the most powerful people in that company, because they decide what actually gets developed, how it gets developed, what gets developed, etc. They're not just the people who do adverts. They're far from it. It's more than that. And I think my issue with this is that it does feel that Dust doesn't really have that wider support. Anyway, we won't go back over that because you can watch the previous video for that one. But my kind of issue here is that I think there's generally just not that kind of focus. Privilege of focus is a key thing when you're developing a product. And I think this is something that CCP had for some time, certainly during the closed beta, or the open beta rather. It had that focus, and the last FanFest was primarily all about Dust, in my opinion. It did feel that way. And I think certainly now it doesn't necessarily feel that there's that same love necessarily there for it. So I think what kind of maybe is needed is that kind of, I guess, just privilege of focus once more on the game. The community's okay. I mean, again, I'm kind of surprised the community aren't more in uproar in general. I think actually people are quite accepting of the game at the moment. I did troll the forums, not troll, the forums, just have a quick look and see what the mood of the day was, and I think there's quite a lot of relatively reasonable posts. I can't believe I just said that, but it's true. I was actually surprised how, I mean, maybe it was a pure kind of, calm before the storm, so I just literally clicked on as everything had been banned. I don't know. But it did feel that people were, yeah, there were still people not terribly happy, but I think generally you've got this thing where I think there is a relatively dedicated community now. And I think they are also quite, they're willing to wait. And that's a nice thing. I'm quite proud to be part of that, because I too will, I'm going to wait. I'm not going anywhere. People always give me this thing, particularly on Facebook. I get a lot of messages on Facebook telling me, oh, you're going to leave, and I'm like, no, I'm not going anywhere. It's just more a case of, I would love to see just that more content coming through. I'd love to see more cons. I'd love to see, funny things. Like, I'd love to see CCP's office in China. I'd love to sort of hear about them and hear what's going on and all that stuff. And I think it doesn't take much to hear that, to have a message come through and then contentment to be, sown effectively. But anyway, we won't talk too much more about that. I just think at the moment it's a bit of an not uncertain, but it's a bit of an odd time for the game, in that it doesn't feel as if there's a lot of communication. It doesn't feel there's a lot of stuff going on, but yet people seem oddly content with this. And I could be wrong in many, many ways, but it just feels that way. So don't hate me, bro. It just feels that way. The game as it stands at the moment has obviously got its issues as well, but again, nothing is game breaking. I think it's, if anything, having 6 months potentially between 1.7 and 1.8 means people have become exceptionally comfortable with this, because I think that's the longest period it's ever gone without a patch and change. And I think that's actually quite an interesting thing as well, because I have become actually quite comfortable with Redline Falcon tanks. I've become quite comfortable with a lot of the game, to be honest with you, because I just accept that this is it. I know that it isn't. I know that more will come, but I just think at the moment it would be nice to certainly see a lot more coming through from CCP in terms of the message and what their vision is. And I'm going to maybe hold my hands up here and probably get banned for saying this, but I'd like to hear more from Rouge. He is the EP, and along with that rather large pay packet, I'm sure, does come a bit of responsibility. Great power, great responsibility. That was Spider-Man, wasn't it? Although admittedly the guy that said it died about 10 minutes after he said it, so I'm not gonna push this point. Please don't hate me for being a little bit of a wuss on that point, but I would like to hear more from him. And it surprises me he's actually been so quiet. Actually, I think maybe the community is not the kind of community he's used to, or he's particularly impressed with. So I think maybe the fact that we all argue and bicker like little children is probably what is keeping him maybe from us. This is why we can't have nice things. This is unfortunately the way it is. But I don't blame him, to be perfectly honest with you. And I think his credentials are certainly excellent. I think I'm really hoping he does push this game forward. But little bit more comms would be nice, my bro Seth. It would be good. But hey, I don't blame you. I really don't. But there we go. At the end of the day, the game is still incredible fun. I know a lot of people really do want me to kind of be negative towards this game, but I can't, because it is still such a good game. I have such a laugh playing it, and even when the latest bauble and fancy comes out and it's all covered in little sprinkles and it's all looking great with icing sugar on it, I still sit there and I enjoy it. I take a nibble, and then I think to myself, do you know what was good? And I sit back in my rocking chair. Dust 514 was good, wasn't it? And then I load it up and I play it and I have a bit of a laugh. And I think that is why I still say this game is a rough diamond. It really is. And it just needs a little bit of polishing, and it could be something quite incredible. Because and this isn't just some sort of fanboy-esque bollocks that I'm spouting. Let me tell you why this is still an incredibly important game. Because the thing is, with most games like Battlefield 4, Titanfall, Call of Duty Ghosts, all of these, is they're very good games, but they are good games for a short time. And so many games now are being built with a lifetime of months, not years anymore. And Dust, as CCP have done with EVE, have built this game to have a lifetime of 10 years. And the design ethic between the two is incredibly different. So let me explain. With Battlefield 4, great game, but they knew that people would get bored of it after 6 months. And already there's problems with it, and people is hemorrhaging players. But it also didn't have the things that keep you going, like a persistent skill system, like an economy, like the feeling that you make money in the game. These are all things that give the game weight and worth, and they never got that right in all of these other games. Even Titanfall, which I think is just excellent, is going to be boring in about 2 or 3 months time. And guess what game I'll be playing when that is, when that's done and on the shelf? I'm going to be back in Dust 514 stomping dudes in my dropship. And this is the weird thing about Dust, and it's almost the enigma of this game, is that we keep coming back to it because we want to keep progressing. We want to get more money. We want to get more kills. We want to, some people will do it for your KD, but if you do, seriously, just go away, because that's not good. But people will do that, and if that's your thing, fair play. But there are people who will come back because they want to be a better merc, or get in a better dropship, or get into that prototype XYZ. And that is quite unusual. Now, I know that Dust is losing players at the moment in some respects, but only in a very minor way. If you look at the numbers, and this is the cold hard fact numbers, this game has been pretty steady at 4,500 people, between 2,500, 3,500 and 4,500 people at any one point during the day, and it peaks at around, I think it's peaking at around 4,500 a day, and that means that there's still about 75,000 people playing this game. Okay, so that's how it works. And to be clear, for one last time, when you log in and you see 43 or 56,000 people online, that's Eve as well, dude. So don't post in the comments or I will cry, because I'm sick of saying that. So the game is relatively solid, and I think, you know, to be honest, it's free, it's fun, and I think there is still some incredible length and mileage to go with this game. And I really do feel that that is where it's going. So I would urge you, don't disregard this game entirely. I think if you get fed up with it because, you know, Redline Railgun Tanks or something like that, take a break, chill, and just relax. I mean, I do this as well. There are times when I get so angry at the game, I just can't play it for a few days, and that's perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with that, because that's the nature of a competitive game. And I think really Dust is going to be here for the long run. I think it's an exciting game, and I think as long as CCP don't do anything stupid, I really do feel it's going to be something quite impressive and fun for the long run in general. So there we go. Now, prepare yourself for quite an accomplishment. Evolution 7 was dropshipping throughout that entire round. Guess how many kills he got? Yep, that's right. He got 40 freaking kills in a dropship. I think that has to be a record. Post in the comments with proof if you actually have beaten that. I hope you enjoyed that. See you next time.